Good morning. It's the 19th of November 2023. It's not too cold, it's dampish and wet. It's not raining here in rural Ireland. And I'm just going to finish off on the subject of the pylons. They're not affecting everyone, but they do affect some people an awful lot, and there's going to be a lot of trouble over those pylons. And the first thing to remember is that this is an illegal project. It's illegal. They did not comply with the law. That means all of this has to be assessed and an environmental report prepared with public participation and the right to take access to the courts to question the procedure that they follow. None of that is done. It's Directive 201/42 EC, and it's all the articles are relevant, but Article 3.2 in particular is relevant. That includes energy. Now, one of the things that I come across when you're going to court or when you're going to challenge anything is the selection of lawyers, selection of a legal team. And this is the hardest thing of all. I was easily 10 years going about trying to find lawyers. Now, I think one of the things that affects groups in this way is that, oh, I know a solicitor down the street, he acted for me mother and he acted for me cousin, and he was in a court case where we had a row over a right away and done all right there, and sure he knows some barrister off somewhere and somewhere else. And that is foolhardy in this case. This law is a whole new type of law. It's different in many ways to what they're taught and what's drilled into them in law school. It's completely different. For an example, in law school, you're taught if you have a time limit, you must stick to that time limit. If it's 8 weeks, you have to be in 8 weeks. If it's 12 weeks to take a judicial review against some other decision of government, it's 12 weeks, and that's inclusive. It's the day that you start and the day that you end is included in that 12 weeks. Some people don't believe that. There was a famous case where the Gardaí got a warrant on the Monday and went searching on the Monday, and it was considered to be, I think that was it anyway. There wasn't 7 inclusive days. There was 8 days. If you counted the day they got the warrant to the day that they executed the warrant and searched the place for, I think it was child pornography, a way back. It was a famous case. I actually added up to 8 days. So I don't know what date they got it, but you understand what I'm saying. So that's what's drilled into lawyers. Moreover, lawyers can get rusty. They operate in a particular area. It took me at least 10 years to fully become up to date with all the European law and all the stuff surrounding it, and the Aarhus Convention and the Habitats Directive, and I'm still learning a lot. On the EIA Directive and on the SEA Directive, I have a very, very good grasp, probably as good as most barristers. There are probably only about 3 barristers in Ireland that understand it. And I don't know, are there any in the UK? There were a few cases in the UK. Now, to give you an example of how strict the SEA Directive is, there was a plot of land in England, and the government proposed to build a town on it, to build a new town on it, and from a greenfield site. And they went along and they said, well, we have to do an SEA, and they did the SEA. They went through the whole process and they did the SEA. And then they got the environmental report, and they got it through, and the next thing was to go ahead and build your town. Well, they'd have had to then do an EIA, an environmental impact assessment, on the local bits of it. Okay, the SEA converted that plot of land into a new town. That's what it was designated for. But then to build the town itself, to do an EIA, which would be following on from the SEA. The SEA sets the framework for future EIAs and habitats. So you see the way the SEA and then the EIA. So they went ahead to do the EIA and get ready for work and get the planning permission through when something happened. It must have been a change of government or something, but it was decided not to go ahead with it. And when it was decided not to go ahead with it, they decided they could throw it there. But it meant that anyone who applied for planning permission on that piece of land was stuck with the SEA for the new town. So if you wanted to open maybe an hotel, or you wanted to open a quarry, or you wanted to build a cattle shed on it or something, it was already designated for a new town. And they rapidly discovered they had to do something. And what they had to do was they had to undo the SEA. They had to take away the SEA. Understand? They had to take the SEA away. And they had to go through the whole process again and do an environmental report on what would happen if you took away the SEA. And they did that. And the European Commission, I don't know were they involved in it, but that was the correct law. And it went to the highest courts in England because they didn't think they had to do that. And it was agreed, yes, it's the plot of land that's the subject of the SEA. It's not the project you're building. Please understand that quite clear. It's the plot of land. So if you take this box here, this is the plot of land. We'll say it's 52 hectares, 110 acres. We'll say. You put that in on your map and you make an SEA for that, and you say this is going to be a new town. This is the water coming in here. This is the storm water. This is the foul sewer. Here's the electricity coming in. Here there's going to be a cinema. Here there's going to be a shopping mall. Here there's going to be houses built all around it, and that's all done. And that piece of land is now an SEA. It's now designated for that purpose. You cannot come along and say, oh, well, sure, we not bother now. We'll do something else. Sure, we'll give it to a farmer. Put up a couple of fattening sheds on a piggery. You cannot do that. You have to go back and take that off it. And that's precisely what they did in this particular case. It's a famous case. I understand it may be in Gregory Jones's book on it, but it's there. I have found it. It's there. That's the situation. So if they had to do the SEA in Ireland for their renewable energy program, and they decided not to go ahead with it, they'd have to take the SEA off it again. They'd have to go through it and take it away. And because of that, the criteria for doing the original SEA must be done in a specific way laid out in the directive. It must be done in a way that leaves it sealed, that piece of land is for that purpose and that purpose only. So this idea that you can say, we'll throw a few windmills up here and we'll throw a few pylons over there, and sure, we'll put an interconnector right up the whole country and all that, that you can do all that on a plot of land that is designated as primarily traditional farming, mixed domestic houses and a little bit of industry, is nonsense. You cannot do that. The land on which the north-south interconnector is going is designated for other than that. It's not designated as an energy site. If they went through with all the wind energy they want, if they went through with all the pylons they want, and all of that, they would in effect be converting Ireland into a generating station. And that would have to be the subject of the proper SEA. Now that's part one. The next part is getting lawyers. Well, one of the things I did about 2015, etc., is drive down with another neighbour to see the Cork solicitor that was taking an interest in this, and that showed we were quite on the ball because he has had some successes, particularly in Wexford. I might be able to link it to it, and the Gugan Bar wind farm in Cork, and this is all attacked on the SEA thing. And then I was all ready. I was all helping the group in North Kildare, and they got good enough lawyers. Some of them weren't too enthusiastic, others were. They went into the court and they won as well. And so this is the pattern that's emerging. It's catch me if you can. Here's the wind farm down in Waterford. There's a notification I got. I'm putting submissions into these all the time. They've granted this, and there's a big heap of stuff here that I'll read later. But here it's all here. But the bottom line is there's no SEA down in Waterford for the wind energy program. So that's the thing. I presume if they build the pylons here in the northeast, they go connect them down to Wexford or down to Waterford, and that's the plan. And so this is the reality of it. I can only tell people this is the case. I have no doubt at some case, sometime in the future, this will be hit with the SEA in the courts. I have no doubt they'll do it right. Whether it'll be done right in time for the north-south interconnector, I don't know. But I presume in the case of the groups, they all look at the local politician, he's going to fix this, the local solicitor, there's a barrister down the road and he's a great man. He might be good in certain ways, but this is a whole different area of law. It's a whole different area, and it's so much a different area of law that the only real court that's expertise in it is the European Court of Justice. And in the case of case C2419, it did exactly what I proposed, and there are cases coming up, including one which some of my viewers contributed to, and they're all coming up. So folks, that's the circumstances. I'll leave it now. I'm glad to be done with the pylons. I just had to get it done, and then we'll move on to something totally different. I don't expect to come back to them this year unless something drastic happens. So we'll see you back for something else. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Selection of your legal team is vital. If you select a substandard legal team, no good. They might be perfect for doing land law, they might be perfect for doing conveyancing. This has nothing to do with this at all. It takes you a while to get your head around this. But the main point about it is, folks, remember, it's the area of land that's covered in both the EIA and the SCA. It's the area of land. That's what that's for. The EIA then says that's what that's for, and the Planning and Development Act is the nuts and bolts of how you get permission to build it. And a huge question, and I think I have the answer, a huge question about the regulation 347 of 2013, the regulation 347 on the strategic infrastructure development for energy in Ireland. A key question is, how much does it override the existing legal framework? And I say all it does is it makes it more of a priority. It prioritizes it financially, it prioritizes it through the planning system. So they try to get it expedited through. I see no problem with that, but it does not rule out any of the conditions of the Planning and Development Act. And while I want to keep my powder dry on that, I don't want to be given fodder for anyone to use wrong. One particular point is that this planning permission expires in the next couple of years, and they are obviously pushing to get it done before the permission expires, because if the permission expires, they can't go on. If the regulation says they can go on, then that would have to be tested. That's what they may say. Well, once we got permission, we can build the pylons anytime. That, I believe, is not the case. And even if I appeal to the good senses of my viewers, do you really think that a regulation in the EU can override the whole planning and development process, the dates and all of that stuff in it? If that's the case, why did they do it at all? Why did they apply for planning permission at all? Why did they have an oral hearing over in Carrickmacross? Obviously, that's not the case. This is one huge illegitimacy. It's a huge illegitimacy. It's EirGrid and the Irish government that's illegitimate. The EU have said you have your directives there, you go along with them. It's just a matter of putting the two and two together and hitting them hard with it into the European Court as quick as ever you can, and see what comes out. Folks, bye-bye. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, and I'll leave you alone. I don't blame anyone who didn't look at all these. These are for a specific group of people. Thank you very much.